So if I had been told this when I was younger, I just can't imagine the difference it would make, because what it does over time, that practice is you start to really not be afraid of anything. You realize there's no emotion or even experience that could happen that can actually throw off the stability of this awareness. See, over time, you directly realize that energy is always there, whether I'm calm and meditating or in a traffic jam and losing my shit. Like, if I'm willing to pause in that moment and notice it, there it is. So the practice of just noticing it, even for a few moments, it literally starts to strengthen to where, like, I feel this in my life. It's almost like there's a stability and a calm that is more just always happening. Now, I can still get caught and thrown off. Like, it happened recently. Like, but there is a deepening and a consistency that can start to grow. And it changes everything, because it's like we're not thrown off by stuff. This is what people want. Like, when I found this teaching, I was like, oh my God, this is the end of suffering. To learn, to get to know that is everything.
Hello and welcome to the I Am Diaries podcast. Today, my name is Jennifer Westcott. I am your host, and today it is my honor to introduce to you Aliah Faith Rogers, and whom we will be having an amazing conversation about her contact with the mighty I Am presence and how it is is and ever will be influencing her life and those around her. Welcome, Aliah.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. Such a pleasure to be here with you already. So
I'm
much, dear, for supporting this for so many people. So important, so beautiful.
Thank you. I'm so excited to have you here. So we're just gonna dive right in here and get to the heart of it. And so, you know, in preface to all this, Aliah and I have been talking and talking, and I'd actually maybe just like to share how we came together and how this is happening, because very recently, in the last actually today, 5 months ago today, my beloved husband passed. And when Aliah was traveling, when this all kind of happening, and when she came back, she heard about it. She reached out to me and offered support and love, and to come into my home and bless me with her amazing massage, which brought such peace to my nervous system. And in that, we started talking about the concept of death as we know it, and through her own experience with her mom's death. And we just found that we shared so much of the same perspective around death, and actually the beauty of it, and maybe misconceptions around that. And so this is how we really kind of started our connection, our friendship, and our interaction. And just being together, we activate so much with each other, and it's beautiful. So I love to just kind of give a context of our relationship and how it started and where we're at right now. And so the first thing I'd like to ask you, Aliah, is, like, in your own words, what does the I am presence mean to you personally?
Yeah, thank you so much, Jennifer, and thank you for sharing that little backstory.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, the I am presence is very much our true self, our true self before we took on, all of this conditioning and all of these limited stories about what we are and all the traumas and all the generational, everything passed down. So the I am presence for me is very much that actually that vast self that we are.
Hmm.
So it is truly what we are, and it's not something special. It's very much, I feel, what every human is made to be. It's just that we've had all these other layers that we've taken on. Um, so it's very much that sense of shared presence, like that saying people say, all is one. It's like, it's actually true. Like, so in my experience, there really is one being and one mind and one intelligence and one love. And like, that is what we are. That is what we are. And it is accessible and it is simple in a way and human. I mean, it's also not simple, but it is simple.
Yes.
Um, but this is my experience of what that I am presence is. It's everyone's birthright. It's what we truly are.
Yes. And yes. And so I guess what does what's coming up, what I'm thinking about is when you say that our true nature, and what behind all of the layers that you talk about, and how we take those on as beliefs about ourselves, that really are not true. what what would you say is our true nature?
Yeah, it's so great to get to even try to see how words can touch this, right? Because it's in a way they can't ever fully. Like we can just do what we can try, but really direct
Yeah.
experience is the way. And I do think that most people touch it at moments, right? Even if it's just a glimmer, maybe a birth of a child or with a lover or a moment in nature, right? Where it's actually, I think, a sense of the personal self sort of dissolves. There's a sense of what we are being this larger connectivity. I mean, it really is tricky to put words to it, but it's also, I feel very much, it is awareness itself. It is the perceiving that is taking everything in at once. It's almost like where we're so habituated to collapse down into labeling our experience, judging things good or bad, trying to hold on to a sense of who we are, having to prove something or become something or fix problems with ourselves. It's almost like all of this self-focus that is actually very collapsed. And it hurts because we are so much more than that. So we actually are that broader, we are like the experiencing itself. We are the experiencer. And we, I know this is so tricky to put words to this, and it is also love, right? It is also that sense of shared connection. It's that sense of recognition we can have with another. It's the sense of being okay in ourselves. Like that's actually huge. I feel like it really is. There's an experience of just like, I'm okay as I am, because it's been so habitual for most of us to feel, even if it's subtle, it's almost like a background, something's not okay, right? I'm not enough on some level. Like it's just like this almost tension or friction. right? And we can see it in the world, the constant, I need this stuff to feel okay. Then it can even translate into spiritual things like, oh, I need to have the positive thoughts to be okay. I need to have the positive emotions and experiences. That gets exhausting too.
Yes.
You know, there comes a point where it's like, we have to uphold this upholding of a self
Mm,
becomes a weight.
mhm.
And to me, a lot of this is just grace. Like, what is it in terms of the timing of people's ripeness
Yes.
to suddenly feel that pinch of these things? And then like that's just so mysterious how some people and at different timings, suddenly they're just not satisfied, right? And there's that pull to like dig deeper or get help or take on spiritual practices. Like it's very mysterious, right? How that ripening is in everyone. And there's no right or wrong. Like everyone has their perfect pace. Like it's all okay. You know,
I
it's
love
like,
that.
yeah. But I don't even know what your original question was, but
Wow, it was about about our true nature, and your explanation is like how can words describe our true nature when our true nature doesn't have anything to do with words. It doesn't have anything to do with identity,
right.
and so much of it is just being, and yet we kind of all start our journey with this idea of becoming. Right. And so we, like you talk about, oh, I got to have positive thoughts. I got to do this. I got to do that. Well, it is part of the journey to discovering that we're already good enough. There's nothing that we need to do to be good enough. But there is the journey in the labyrinth of actually experiencing that before you come to really, truly know that. And
Absolutely, Jennifer. It's true because positive is certainly very different than negative, right? Like that's a huge leap to
yeah,
shift that.
right.
But you know, I could certainly say I do feel there's things that are so fundamental in supporting us to come to have that direct experience. I mean, nature being one of them, right? Like having like for me when I started heading west after college and just being in the vast nature of Colorado for the first time after New England, and you know, even living in a cabin off grid, chopping wood, carrying water. I mean, that changed me. You know, like there are experiences we can take that really help to shake up what we've known. Even breathing that cold fresh air every night in the cabin, I couldn't believe how that changed my mindset during the day. I'm like, I never knew that sleeping in a hot, heated room was kind of clouding for me. Like there were just so many insights. And of course, basic things like good food and nutrition. And, you know, for me, having opportunities to live in communities where I just could step into an environment where I had so many new experiences and I could just directly have these. It had so much impact on me rather than me trying to change things one at a time. Like I
Yes.
do recommend that for people. Like that's where people in going to workshops or something can be so powerful because you're immersing for a weekend or a week or a month or a year.
Yes.
And it helps
Yes.
us to unhook from the thoughts and the patterns that blocked us from just getting to connect with what we already are, right? So, I mean, there's
Yeah.
a million things we can do, and a lot of us know about, you know,
Yes.
practices and things to do, but
So what would you, yeah, and then you could talk forever about all the different things because
right.
it's actually infinite because everyone's journey. What is so amazing to me is the power of the I am to be present within everybody's journey. Everybody's thumbprint is different. And just like that, everybody's life journey is, you don't have, even two twins don't have the same life path. And that is in itself, like, to me, such an amazing design from such a huge, huge presence, right? That is the presence of all life everywhere, and every journey and every
Yes.
twist and turn. And so I guess with that, uh can you speak to, like, maybe one or two, like, because your journey started very young, which is, well, our journeys start from the day we're born. I mean, one day we realize that, but where you were really impacted with this awareness,
Mhm.
to a level that now you are aware of your spiritual journey, and maybe some monumental thing that really propelled that in you.
Yeah, absolutely. It was definitely when I went to the Esalen Institute in Big Sur, California. So yes, things prepared me for that to enough to know that I was drawn to go, and I knew it was going to be big and help me. But it completely, that was where I had my first deep, direct experience of undeniable. It really was kind of emerging. It was the self falling away, and it was through many things that happened just in the lifestyle of Esalen, like so many first experiences for me, like circle work and learning about the power of our words that we use, and emotional release, and Gestalt therapy, and soaking in hot waters, and being in the presence of nature just at such a level I'd never experienced. Um, so it was all those factors together. Plus, I really feel one of the main catalysts was doing a week-long workshop with Gabrielle Roth called The Five Rhythms. And so it was so much movement and dance every day with live drummers. And I'd really only danced in like bars before. I was in like my early 20s. And but in between the actual moving, she would talk with us and help us understand the nature of ego, and the nature of, our sense of a separate self, and our fear of being witnessed, and how when you dance that can really come up, right? Like the shyness of being in our body, and like the awkwardness, and how like our traumas are in our tissues, and it all shows up there. And this was like totally a new world for me. But we moved so much for so many days that it like cracked us open. It was like I like dissolved. And like the spirit of life was moving my body. And I was like, oh my God, like I didn't even know my body could do that. I was like both witness, but also in it.
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
like ecstatic. I mean, and then in between we'd have like dyads, and I'd never done eye gazing before. And I'm like eye gazing with this person I didn't know. And I just like, I was gone. It was like our shared perception and shared being was all it was. I mean, and
Wow.
it was like, I was so nourished. I like didn't really have an appetite for food. It was like, I was like nourished on the light of this recognition for the first time.
Wow.
And one
Wow.
more thing, I remember calling my mom, and I'm all serious. I'm like, oh my God, mom, I know why I'm here. Like, I know my purpose. She's like, what? I said, to love. I mean, it was just so classic and adorable, like this young, blooming being, but it was true, Jennifer. It was like I got it, and it just changed everything. I stopped relating to the music I was listening to, my clothes. I shaved my head, my hair was down to my waist. I like suddenly realized I was whole and okay. I didn't need any of this stuff. So it was like kind of radical, it was kind of
Yes,
extreme.
yes,
And I
yeah.
hadn't done a lot of the deep healing work, I have to say. Like it's really been a lifetime of still integrating and like honoring the woundedness and the deeper, darker work. I feel like I sort of had the gates of heaven open without doing a lot of prep work.
Right,
but
right.
I could never turn back. It changed everything. I mean, it changed everything. And I feel like from there on, I really, on a certain level, have prioritized spirit, you could say, even though,
Yes, yes.
it's all, I'm still just an absolute baby and beginner and feel like, so that's all relative, but it totally shifted my trajectory. I started just nomading and traveling alone and like experimenting with, just what is intuition? Like, what, where does spirit want me to go? Like, where am I really drawn? Like, what is that process of listening? Like
Mm.
noticing signs and synchronicities and, there's just so much to that has been so rich for me.
Well, and as you say that, I'm thinking, so many of us are get into this life of this is what you should do. This is the prescribed lifestyle. You go to school and then you go to work and then you have a family and you have kids, and that's the prescribed lifestyle. And there's not a lot of room for allowing yourself to be moved by spirit or intuition, as you're talking about. And and so,
Right.
like, how was that for you when I mean, was this did you find difficulty in that or resistance from the world when you started doing this? And what kind of kept you going on your spirit journey when maybe you weren't lining up with the rest of the world and prescribed lifestyle?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, I do think I was very fortunate in this way because my mother had been at Esalen before and
Mm,
she changed so much and opened so much. She got
wow.
clarity about leaving my dad. She sent us photos of her gardening topless with like whales breaching. And my sister and I are like, who is this? And that's
Ah!
why I went because I'm like, this was really good for my mom. So honestly, my parents have been totally supportive. Like, I really didn't have a lot of resistance. I have to say that they were like, go, Aliah. They were like, and they've always supported it, even though they've been a little more mainstream, not even that mainstream, but they've really supported my lifestyle. I've
Wow.
never been married. I've never had kids. I'm 55. I mean, this is kind of amazing. It's like, I
Yeah.
do feel like I've been supported by my family. Um, with those choices. I mean, I certainly had some fears and resistance come up, but something greater pushed me into that experience. Yeah.
So when did you feel like, at what point did you feel like you were going really deep into shadow work and
I mean, honestly, I feel like I still am. I feel like that's an area that I know I still have work to do because I think I've had so much clarity and passion for like nurturing this true nature that is so vast.
yeah,
So I feel like so much of the important work is about, it's so key. I really wanted to share this today. It's really important that, we're not avoiding. It's so easy to even unconsciously avoid the pains and the traumas when we access what is undeniably true about what we are, that is
yeah.
so this ease and peace. So it's really just so, so, so vital that we practice, really feeling that openness that we are and let it allow, we practice allowing, noticing and feeling any of that pain and tension and the traumas. And I think many things can support with that. Like I have a writing practice every morning. Like that's a very practical thing that I do that really does help me. But like knowing what we went through, like I know I had a lot of birth trauma and, doing work with that. I feel like the body is the key for that too, because it bypasses all the stories. That's where the dance and the movement and the breath and the sound is so big because we're welcoming in frequencies and support for the places that have been suppressed. But I think the main thing is just the traumas and the shadow work. It's just being willing to presence them. It's like, it doesn't necessarily mean a lot has to be done, but it's like our willingness to be like, I see you. I see what you went through, and I'm gonna be willing to feel those things that I wasn't safe to feel when I was little, right? Or when the harm happened. So it's like saying, I'm giving space, I'm just giving permission for these things to be felt. And sometimes things can just release with that permission and that spaciousness. Like I feel like that permission field, that spaciousness is everything. Because the wisdom that we are, you could say that I am presence, it naturally is inclusive of all those things. It's not saying they're wrong, keep them out.
Mhm.
Do you know
Yeah,
what I mean? So, but our awareness of that helps that. It's like reminding ourselves we're safe to feel and meet the
yes,
hard things. And then we grow in confidence that those things can't take us down anymore. Or it's like we see them for what they are. Actually, we let the light of allowance and presence hold that, and then it's loved in that moment, and it naturally releases. Like I find so much flows through naturally when we just are saying, you're welcome here.
yes. I love that you talk about it that way because you just are, um, because what you're really, really talking about, which I think for a lot of people, the resistance to allowing those in is the judgment of them. So like not being able to look at these things is really because we don't want to acknowledge them because that might mean something about us that we don't want to acknowledge. And isn't any meaning of it. It just is.
Yes.
And it's
Yes, hon.
right. And it's
Yeah.
just like that's that's what we're in this realm to do.
Yes, yes,
Is
that's
full
right.
acceptance of everything that is within ourselves.
That's right, Jennifer. That's right. How could we ever hold space for another's if we haven't met ourselves? We can't.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
won't feel it, right?
right, right. And we're
Yeah, it's
often
like the shame. It's like the shame.
yes, it's the shame, yes. And I love that you're talking about it because, you had you had really cool parents, right? They allowed you, they gave you the freedom, but that doesn't mean that you didn't come in here. You had a birth trauma, you didn't, we all come in here with something or there, to transmute, to face, and to bring, I'm thinking of the Gene Keys right now, where Richard Rudd talks about the shadow, the gift, and the city. And the city is when you get into the actual, you've taken the shadow and it's turned into this dance with ecstasy. It's turned into your purpose just by being able to accept accept it and shed the beliefs and the judgments and the shame around all these things that they don't need guilt, shame, or anything
Oh,
with them. We were just taught that they did.
that's right. That's right, sweetie. Oh my goodness. And yeah, I just like we could talk for hours, but
Yeah,
and my folks had affairs and they got divorced. I mean, they were supportive in ways, but there was a lot of stuff.
there was a lot going on in
I
their
had
world.
major trauma in school.
Ah,
I literally never spoke up in class. Like I just shut down. I did not know I had anything of value to speak. And right now, I literally feel like the thing calling me right now is this work called vocal transformation, where you like get deeper into the voice and it's actually the connection with even as women, like our first chakra and our sexuality. And like I've had sexual trauma, like I don't think I know a woman who hasn't, but I just want to say, like, there's just always more. It's just so beautiful. Like spirit is like wanting me to open more. And yeah, so it's just, there's so many, it's just so beautiful how life continues to guide us to allow more of its fullness to be embodied through us. That's all this is. And it's not personal. I want to say, Jennifer, like ultimately I feel like when we realize, when we allow that shame to heal and the shadow work and all of this, and we let ourselves experience that openness that we are. Where was I going with that? I just kind of lost that thought. Oh, that it's really not personal at all. This is like life just wanting to know itself through this uniqueness. But that can really help us to be less concerned about, it's just like, okay, this is just that impersonal thing can really help us feel more freedom.
Yes.
I mean, that might be further along on the path. I'm not sure, but I think to me, that's just such a gift to remember. It's really not so personal. It can help lighten the weight because we carry so much pressure about our
Yes.
friggin' life. It's like, I just can't believe, I feel like that's one of the main things is that people just carry so much pressure and like that we've got to do more and be more. And it's just like exhausting. It's like we just want to let ourselves be. And I feel like being gentle on ourselves, Jennifer, I think is one of the most important things.
We're
Working
yeah,
so friggin' hard on ourselves. It's insane.
yeah,
It's like, I'm like, no, like that is not okay. No. But it's like, and rather than seeing what we need to get to, it's like, how far have we come? That practice is so powerful.
yes, yes, yes. How far have we come? And we
That's
don't
reality.
look at that, right? Yeah.
And that frequency of seeing how far we've come and being gentle on ourselves, that's the frequency of the I am presence. It's
Yeah,
so kind and loving. And
yeah,
from there, it also is the vastness, but it's like honoring everything
yeah.
we've walked.
Yes, because when we're hard on ourselves, then it is, as you were talking about the being impersonal, like, not personalizing so much and just knowing what we're here and the freedom that comes with that. The word that came to mind was expansiveness, because the harder we are on ourselves, the more we are constrictive and restrictive and limiting. And this is so speaks to why many of us feel powerless in life, because we're relying on all these beliefs about life, about ourselves. We're not good enough. We've got to become, even like the whole personal development industry is all about you're not good enough. You need to do this to be better, do this to be, and you can spend the entire life and get to it. And at the end say, I was everything. I am everything. I never needed that. And how does that change? I mean, it brings up the topic of what is freedom and what is expansiveness. Because I love to hear your thoughts on this, like, because I feel like even as one thing that everybody wants is freedom, and yet even our thoughts about what that is limiting. And what are your thoughts on what is true freedom?
Well,
Or what are your feelings? I should.
yeah. I mean, certainly I've personally been very drawn to embody that freedom. Like it's helped me to feel the inner freedom in my exploring on the world and, you know, traveling and feeling the actual physical freedom. But I really know ultimately that's not necessary. Like on an ultimate level, I do feel like you could even be in a hospital bed, unable to move. And because of the power of our consciousness, I do feel we do have that innate gift of tapping into the freedom that is in that immediacy of our perception when it's relaxed and open and not collapsing down. We can touch that. It's beyond the body. And I do feel that ultimately there is a freedom in the immediacy of perception that happens. And I could speak more about that because that's really been like one of my most powerful practices I've had in my life. And I've had a lot of support. I was very involved in a community where we all were committed to this together. So that really helped me. And I still have to choose it when I remember throughout the day. It's not like you arrive and it's there, right? It's always a choice, but it's literally, so to access that freedom, that sense of freedom, it is literally if I could explain it, it's almost like if you can imagine your visual perception and how you can either be focused or you can kind of relax, right? And you can take in the peripheral, right? It's a different quality. And there's a way that we can experiment and practice that with our mind. It's like where you're just for a moment, like I can do it right now with you, Jennifer, where I'm talking,
Yeah.
but I'm kind of noticing the space around me a little bit too. I might even notice, soften my belly and notice my breath and like feel my back body or my feet on the earth, but I can still talk with you. But it's like we're noticing how our awareness can actually be, right? It's not like collapse down in. And this is the practice. It's a relaxing of body and mind. And you're literally just noticing that awareness itself is already perceiving. So it's like you're getting to know that perception that you have. And you might be confused and be like, I don't know if I'm feeling it. It's weird. I don't know. I would say just try anyway. And it will land at some point. And that simple practice, there's so many fruits that come from that because it's literally, we're getting to know our nature as that more open awareness field. And that actually, it really is our freedom because it includes everything. We can feel the body, we can let thoughts and emotions come, but we're not captured. And so there can be a sense of calm with that. And nourishment, like that field is also supportive and nourishing.
Yes.
But I really feel that if I had been told this when I was younger, I just can't imagine the difference it would make, because what it does over time, that practice is you start to really not be afraid of anything. You realize there's no emotion or even experience that could happen that can actually throw off the stability of this awareness. See, over time, you directly realize that energy is always there, whether I'm calm and meditating or in a traffic jam and losing my shit. Like if I'm willing to pause in that moment and notice it, there it is. So the practice of just noticing it, even for a few moments, it literally starts to strengthen to where, like, I feel this in my life. It's almost like there's a stability and a calm that is more just always happening. Now I can still get caught and thrown off. Like it happened recently. Like but there is a deepening and a consistency that can start to grow. And it changes everything because it's like we're not thrown off by stuff. This is what people want. Like when I found this teaching, I was like, oh my God, this is the end of suffering. To learn, to get to know that is everything, you know? So I mean, we could do a whole talk just on that, but
Oh, yeah.
I hope maybe some of that can land for people. But it's like, the power of pausing, and the key is experimenting with it. Like I said, when you're calm and peaceful, and also when you're not. And so you start to gain your confidence. It's always there for you.
Yes.
But I want to
Yes.
say it's the opposite of like checking out of reality. Like when you do this, you actually tap our innate capacities on every level, Jennifer. Like that's where you are responsive, like, because you're not in the way with your own ideas about how something should be, or your fears about how you're blah, blah, blah. You're just like, I'm just going to let it come from that broader resting. And it just like suddenly the response is just there. It's like moment to moment intelligence
Oh
is,
my goodness.
sweetie. I'm
I,
serious. But it
yes,
still takes practice. Like, I'm not saying I'm living it all the time. I really want to make this clear. But when I do, I just see what happens. Like, I'm 100% clear about this as one of the many things that can support us. But I love it because it's so accessible. It's like anyone, anywhere, you can do it. And there's more to share on that, but that,
wow.
to me, that is what our ultimate freedom is. It's getting that freedom is knowing we're not the thoughts and emotions and changing experiences, which are always this is basic Buddhism, by the way, too, right? This
Yeah,
is like
yeah,
the metaphor of we're the sky, not the clouds that pass. But how do you really live that? What does that mean?
yeah. I just,
Jennifer,
oh my goodness, I'm so
I
excited.
love that this is landing for you so well.
Oh, I'm bursting inside because you've just talked about something I've been experiencing lately, but didn't know that it was a thing or a practice like that you're talking about. And like, so lately it's just kind of been interestingly happening where I might be talking to someone, and even with you, as I'm listening, I sort of like focus on maybe your third eye. And I'm, like you said, I'm not drifting, I'm not going somewhere else. I'm actually more in tune with you on a different realm. And this, and it's almost surreal, like this surreal realm. But
We're feeling it right now, right? I
right
can really
now, I'm
feel us
doing,
feeling it right now.
yes, I am. I'm doing it right
Yes.
now. I'm
Like,
feeling it right now.
yeah, it's just,
Practicing it. It's like an opening of space. And it's like
yeah,
connecting to the I am presence of the immortality that we are. Because this belief that we're mortal and our fears of death, and which translate into fears of life, kind of dissipate, because there is this sense that your consciousness, as you were talking about, is there all the time, kind of regardless of what the physical body's doing, what words are being spoken, and you tap into that. And I had lately that has kind of been happening, and I didn't know really what it was, but I really liked it because I even felt like I'm listening and absorbing what as somebody's talking. I'm not just absorbing their words or body language, but their essence, and the heart and the intention and the maybe what people would call light language, that you're in that language with them, and I had never connected that to freedom like you just did, and never connected that to um this practice of just being, how you practice being even while you're doing. Right, it's almost like
yes,
this walking meditation in a way.
yes, it's true.
And
Jennifer,
I,
that's so awesome. I'm so grateful to hear you share. I totally feel you.
oh man, I was just like, it was like such a surprise for this to even come up. As you expressed, the question was, what would you call freedom? And you talk about this, I'm like, oh, wow. So this is I'm starting to do this, and I didn't know what I was really doing, but I really like it. It feels good. and like you said, the kind of clouds floating by, whatever thoughts you might be having, or what we think is like the really tangible physicalness of the five senses is just has just kind of dissipated a bit. But
I love
it's
it. It's so
beautiful.
huge.
Thank
See,
you.
and this can be, it's simple, like this can be shared. And like, imagine if this was taught to young people, like you're not your thoughts and emotions, relax your mind and have your own direct experience. I think this is a really powerful thing.
Yeah.
I wanted to say it almost, like, because I practice this when I do my massage, right? Or anything, or making art. So that the cool thing is how much it actually like imbues and uplifts and activates what we do in the physical. Again, like it is not separate. Like this is so important. This is like embodied, right? Like this actually lets the embodiment happen because we're tapping into the genuine, the truth of the bigger field.
Right, right.
Or
Uh,
like it includes all the physical, but it's like we're not cutting it short by collapsing down. So it can finally like have its expression in a great
yes.
way.
So it's really how I hear you saying, it's really how we are allowing the power of the I am presence to move within us and through us, and to guide our minds, to guide our thoughts and words, and just our movements, and how we dance and flow with the invisible realm, really. And then
Yes.
bring it into this physical realm as well, through this body, which is kind of
So,
like, I think of like how we're meant to walk the middle way, you know? I don't know if
yes, absolutely. 100%, hon, 100%. Yeah. Yeah. And I think like there's definitely qualities of it that it sometimes can help to name them, but and I think a big element of the more that we just tap into this and just notice this, like it might only be for a few seconds, right? And then the thoughts come back but just that's perfect. You just notice it for a few moments whenever
Yeah.
you remember. So there's something very powerful about not having to have it be a set time set aside where you're sitting on your cushion. And I think that this is what I love about it. It's much more integrated into the daily life. And I think this is very powerful. Um, but it's like, it's a radical trust. It's a
Yeah.
radical trust in this broader, it's a total intelligence. So it's like we are realizing we don't have to be the one, right? To like, so it's like, how much can we trust that, what we need to know shows up much more in the moment, which includes planning for the future, right? But and this is like, talk about freedom, sweetie. This is like the biggest weight off our shoulders.
Oh, it's so, oh,
It's the
ah,
biggest weight off our shoulders.
oh, it's just so freeing. Really. It is, because it's like, oh, I can plan, but I'm also open to how it shows up, how it happens, the grace and it's
Yeah,
like waking up and go, surprise me, universe, and know that the universe, God, the I am, is always working for your highest good. And when you know that,
that's
it's
right.
that there's that trust, and you have spoken a lot about faith and trust, and faith is your part of your name, Aliah Faith Rogers, which I love, and you've already started to. Can you expand a bit more on how that faith and trust is really integrating into your life now in a more
Yeah,
powerful way?
yeah, thank you. I mean, in ways, I think I resonated more with the word trust. Like I felt like it was when I was younger, especially like it was such a big sense of like what I came here to learn. And like just such an natural passion to strengthen my sense of trust in life. but trust is a little bit of a weird name. So I'm like, oh, faith, that's good. Same energy.
You
Because
trust.
it's not real, it's definitely not religious for me. It's more about,
Yeah.
it really is about, because to me, when I'm really feeling that faith in the power of life and my connection with life, I feel like faith, it might be conceptual, but then it bridges into the direct experience for me. Like that's what it is. Like if I'm really having faith and trust, then I'm literally then feeling that connection and where I'm supported and everything, as you said, we've touched on a little bit. But the faith and trust is, but I mean, that takes building. I mean, my morning writing has been since my 20s, and I'm often writing things to remind myself of these things. So in some ways, that writing practice, it strengthens my faith and trust because I'm like using my mind and the power of the word. So, it's like, it really is helpful also to have practices that they like can bridge for us that actual experience. Um, but yeah, faith and trust. I mean, I, everything supports that. I mean, lying on the earth, like doing sweat lodge, being in nature, um, feeling, tapping into that broader intelligence, accessing that sense of that we are cared for and we are part of creation. I mean, that's the energy of trust as well. It's just like, we're not alone in this. This is the theme I feel today. It's just like I'm trusting I'm here, like I am part of life. And, but it can translate a lot, like in the nitty gritty, like when I was learning more about this when I was younger, I remember just crazy situations where I would like I remember I left New Mexico for Orcas Island. I just felt drawn to Orcas Island. I'd never been, I didn't know anyone. I like drive in my Westphalia van. I made a bunch of my art at the time, these spirit dolls. I didn't have money. So I made all these spirit dolls and I'm like, all right, so I'm just gonna have to trust that I'm gonna find galleries along the road trip that will buy these outright. I'm like, okay. Like I've never done that, but it was just like I've been, it's like, it's cool to bring it into the physical, and when I was younger, I think I did it in more overt ways because I was so curious about it, but like really not having money. And then I remember being in Ashland, Oregon and writing in my journal, like, shit, I'm out of money. I've got to sell a doll, but I know if I do it out of fear, it's not going to work. Like I was learning about energetics. So I'm like writing in my van, getting myself back into that alignment of trusting something's going to work. Okay. Literally. So, and then I go out of my van after writing, I'm carrying one doll with me. They were kind of big. I'm walking down the street and a woman pulls over in her van and leans out her window and she's like, "What are you carrying? That's beautiful." And immediately I'm like, this is it. And she did, she bought it. She like gave me a few $100s. They weren't cheap. They were kind of amazing. She gives me a few $100s and I'm like, there it is. Like I was like experimenting hardcore. Or like
Yes.
I'd have enough money to get over a bridge one way and not the way back. I'm like, shit, I've got to manifest something to get back over the bridge. You know,
Oh, I love
I
that
don't know.
story.
I
I
probably
love
could
it.
have a lot of stories about trust and faith, hon, and just like, what is it to just leap and know something's going to come? But I put a lot of time and energy into like working that and even moving my body to shake out the fear and get myself into the space where I knew then the magnetism happens. But
Absolutely.
it's
Well,
still a practice all the time, hun, all the time.
it's all the time. That's why we're here. I just
Why
love
we're
it.
here. And it's
It's
so
so
humbling because we
cool.
can have all, something else will come and we might get shaken and lose our
Yes.
trust for a moment. And that's why we all have each other. And, it's just all okay, and what a gift.
Yes. I would love to have a part two and talk about the power of community because I feel because I feel like we have sort of been in some ways, and I grew up like this for so long, I felt I had, if I didn't make it on my own, if I didn't do it by myself, it wasn't worthy, it wasn't real. And I was really not capable of reaching out and asking for help. And and you know, it was just I had this mentality, I had to do it alone or not at all. And that was a big part of my, my journey. And that has so shifted, because now, like, I I've been so blessed, and I think because I have worked on that shadow so much and faced that shadow, because really it was just a fear and insecurity of not being good enough and didn't want to be seen by others that way. I isolated and just told myself I have to do it on my own. And I'm realizing now, I'm seeing, I've really been blessed to get into an enormous community and to see the power of it, and how we are just dancing all the time, and how it makes things so much easier, and how we love and support each other when you get into a community that does have, and I should say is cultivating that mindset, because it doesn't mean like the community's perfect. The community's as perfect as the people. But everybody is at least in the awareness of knowing that that is what we're cultivating, and let's work on that with each other. Let's dance with each other that way. And we most of us haven't been brought up that way. Socialization really kind of has wanted to divide us. And so I think that would be a wonderful topic to talk about, to how we can now go the other way, bring in community and oneness with each other, and the all, and the beauty of that. Would you be up for that?
Yes, 100%. The times we're in, it's just so clear. It's like,
oh, it's so clear.
cannot do it alone. No fun.
Yes.
It's just so clear. It's just so time for community. So,
Yes,
Jennifer, I
it
love it.
is.
Absolutely. That would be so much fun, and so
Yes.
important to have that conversation with you. We could talk about so many things.
Oh, it's just on and on. We
So
may have to
grateful.
read, but yeah. But
So grateful.
I want to say too that something kind of like this summary that came through as you were talking about this I am presence. It's the word is in there, right? It's the I am, which is everything, and then presence, which is just being present, being, and be still, and know, and trust, and be. And the more we can hone that and just practice that, a lot of people are looking for like a big kind of bang thing to happen in their lives, and not that it can't or won't, but a lot of this is very, very subtle.
Yes.
And once you just accept the subtlety and surrealness of that field that you were talking about, it's like, oh, that there is such a power in subtlety and in the subtle realm. And yes, please.
Jennifer, yes, yes. Beautiful. Thank you so much for just putting that in words in that way. It's so true. It's so true. It's like that it's natural, and there's a simplicity, and it doesn't have to be this hard thing that takes years and lifetimes. It's that what we are can be simple and accessible, and just a human, because I feel like it is that. But I
And
think one thing just to say, because it's so important, we already did a little, but just the importance of knowing that part of that is very much gaining trust that we are able to meet anything that we consciously or subconsciously have pushed down and thought that it's too much to feel or face, that as we notice that subtle realm, that it also naturally becomes a strengthening capacity in us to know that we can face anything. And it's just really, really important that that's spoken here, because
yeah,
this is the opposite of avoiding. This is getting to know our actual capacity to meet the really hard stuff too. So it's really
oh, that
prayer
is,
of mine for all of us,
oh,
that we know we have that capacity, and
yes, yes,
which includes, as you said, community, getting whatever support you need. Because yeah, sometimes the trauma might be so big, it might catalyze something where someone really does need more support. They might not be able to just rest as awareness. So I just want to say, you know, whatever support is needed, but that
yes.
ultimately we do gain confidence and understand our capacity
Right.
there.
And that every part of the journey is an important part of the journey. So wherever you are in it, if
That's
you
right.
feeling
That's right.
traumatized, if you're feeling like you very fearful, if you're feeling doubt, or that you so heavy that this seems almost impossible,
Yeah,
let yourself be there.
that's right.
Because and just accept that that's where you are, and it will, and the more acceptance that you can have of where you are, the more opportunities you will have to unpeel that in a way that is for your highest good and serves you. And so yeah, I guess it's just a softening, and as you said before, being gentle with yourself wherever you are.
This is the key. This is like
Yeah,
everything, hon, that we've shared about, like that acceptance, everything unfolds from that. Like when we really are acceptant, like if I'm struggling, it's always because I'm being hard on myself on some level.
oh,
Accept.
right,
But one thing we might have to do another call for this, but like the tapping I find really helpful. Like I do that practice a lot where
yeah,
I don't know if
yeah,
you know that one, but you're like speaking things to help, and it rewires that bilateral stimulation. And I feel like this really helps me to rewire when I
yeah,
might be caught or struggling. So there are like a lot of practices we can do. And just even the shaking, I just quickly want to say, like, again, rather than need to go to a separate class to do something, even though that's great too, throughout your day, like how often just shaking and just like, bleh, like those
yeah,
little moments throughout the day go a really long way. And just noticing our alignment and feeling that relaxation is everything more throughout the day as you remember than like needing to make it this big thing.
yes,
Feel
yeah.
goes a really long way. Um, just wanted to voice it, put it into,
Okay, put it out
yeah.
there. We'll put it. Okay, there's more to come, to be continued. Aliah, thank you so much. And I would just like to ask you, like, you have your massage that you're doing and offering right now. um what are you really currently, because you have a lot of things going and so many talents and so many gifts that you're offering people, what right now is really calling you, that you are wanting to share with people?
Yeah, definitely the healing work and bringing in more voice. Like I'm doing more, having people open their voice more on the table, and also like sexual trauma healing work. Spirit has been bringing, like lately wanting me to help people with. So that's happening in a
Wonderful.
very safe space, so that
Yes.
we can be open in that first channel, so that we can receive actually the energy and the gifts coming up through the earth. So this vehicle can have the nourishment and energy that it needs. Very important that that trauma is addressed, like
Yeah,
fundamental, actually.
beautiful.
And then I do art, I make cards, that I do collages and I make cards. And I don't have anything online yet. So just know that it's coming. Like I mail things to people. I print on canvas, so I have large format art as well. And then
Okay,
I do death doula work. So I help individuals and families who are facing death. I help support and share resources with people so they know their options at end of life. Um, I'm very, very happy and passionate to support people around death work, even if it's like 1 or 2 calls or Zoom calls where we're just, I do coaching work also. So, and I don't have a website for any of this. I've been super old school.
so
I
great.
think that stuff is coming. I think it needs to come, but people are gonna, if they're drawn to work with me, they can just reach out directly. Maybe you can send a link, Jennifer, I really prefer just phone, text, or WhatsApp over
Okay,
email.
oh,
Um,
that's the best way to contact you.
yeah, and
Um,
then
yeah,
and I also do psychedelic guide work because I feel like psychedelics are also a very potent ally when they're held in a safe container to help rewire trauma and help clear veils of false conditioning that we've had. They can help people have a direct experience that then is more accessible.
right.
So I've done group work with different plant medicines and psychedelics, and I really am honored to help people in that way, one-on-one and in groups, co-facilitating with others.
Amazing, amazing. I love what you're doing and you're so gifted. And I feel like other than Faith, Safe is your middle name. You exude safety. I really, and even the massage that I received from you, I just felt I was just so able to relax in such a way I have never really been able to relax that much in a massage before, and I've had a lot of them. And it just was like I felt so safe, and I felt you when you talked about being present. We talked about being present, that you are so 100% present with my body, mind, and spirit, um, and my heart the entire time, and it's just so nourishing. And so I want to thank you for that, and just being who you are, Aliah, and sharing yourself with us. Thank you so very much.
Thank you so much. What a gift.
You are.
Right back to you, dear. So feel our resonance. So grateful. What a gift.
Yes. Well, I will put your WhatsApp information, your phone number, and everything relevant so people can contact you and talk to you about whatever it is that they're seeking, that they're wanting to know more about you and your offerings and everything like that. And we shall meet again, my friend.
Thank you so much. You are
Thank
amazing.
you.
I appreciate you, Jennifer.
And I appreciate you too. And namaste.
Namaste, dear. Nice
Thank
to meet
you.
you.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye. Bye, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. Hmm.